right, big weekend for Big Game James Allen as we now put an exclamation point on a phenomenal high school football season for Section 2. We had 3 teams going into the weekend with chances to win state titles. 2 out of the 3 did. Holy Trinity comes up just short. Otherwise, it would have been a clean sweep for the 3 teams in Section 2. As we have it, it is Troy, it is Cambridge going back-to-back, and it has never happened before for a Section 2 team. James Allen from the Times Union joins us here on the Monday morning edition of Big Board Sports on 104.5 A Team ESPN Radio. Good morning, Big Game.
Good morning, Roger.
What a weekend, huh? Let's start with Troy and Lancaster yesterday, and a dominating performance, and it's been that way all year. And when you look at Ward, Castle, and Holmes, nobody has been able to figure out that trio.
No, and really it was a real signature win for not only for this particular team and this group of seniors, but their program as a whole. To think back to where they were, in 1993, never having a title before that, a sectional title, and where the program took off from there. And Jack Berger and his staff was able to establish something, and then Bobby Burns, kind of moves up from the defensive coordinator spot and does the same thing. And you think about, they definitely had 3 dynamic players on offense and defense, and the 3 you mentioned. Casal's going to be going to Albany following his brother. Moved into the quarterback spot this year, did an outstanding job. I think he probably even exceeded the coach's expectations. Not that they didn't know that he was a great player. He was an outstanding safety, 3-year starter there. But, he really got better as the season went along and stepped up in the 3 state playoff games to really give them great production in the passing game. And Joey Ward's not just a special player, and he showed off those skills, to a bigger audience yesterday. And Deb Holmes, another great performance in the state title game for him. He was certainly the MVP candidate, probably going to the 4th quarter with the interception and the couple of touchdown receptions he had. And you look at the offensive line and the defensive line. You got guys that are undersized. Offensive line program weight says they averaged 218, not even that big. Their center, Tyler Vanderwood's, he listed at 195, at probably about 10 pounds less than that. You just think about all the different players they had step up, and not surprising that they did it again. Really not. A little more difficult, Roger, though, this year, because everybody's expecting you to win again. They won it last year. They were ranked number 1 all year long. Everybody was gunning for them. And to do it in such an emphatic fashion yesterday really says a lot, not only about those players, but that program.
Yeah, and Ward makes the Sports Center top 10, number 1, actually, with that incredible run that he had, and he was the MVP with 227 yards and 3 touchdowns. I'm glad you mentioned the Lions, because none of these 3 guys I just mentioned do anything without an offensive line that's getting it done. So kudos to Coach Burns and his staff and the O-line that they had rolling as well. And then I think it's a good point, Big Game. You're talking about a team that was number 1 for 13 weeks, right? You got a big monkey on your back there, and you're number 1 in the state right at the very beginning, and you're able to hold on to that all season long.
It really is a big thing. And, Troy, this wasn't their first opportunity to win back-to-back state championships. Now, they went to the Dome 4 years in a row from 96 through 99, and the 96 team won as a Class A team, and that was the first year of AA football. So they had 5 classes that year. They were still an A, and they won that first state championship. The following year, they were ranked all year long number 1 as the AA team in 97. Got to the Dome undefeated. Very much everybody, around the program thinking they were going to do it again, and it wasn't so easy. And they lost to Fairport in that final, and then they rematched with them in 98 and beat them. And then they had another opportunity again to do it in 99 and weren't able to do it. They got to the Dome. So it is not easy to do. It's hard enough to get to the Dome 2 years in a row, no matter what classification you're talking about, to do it. And the way this team did it, it's just really impressive because, again, so much is expected of them. They lost some pretty key components from last year. John Germanario, a lot of those linemen from last year. It was not a foregone conclusion from a personnel standpoint that they weren't going to do it, but knowing this program, knowing the amount of work that the kids put in and these coaches put in, really from a week after last season to start the weight training, to do the 7-on-7, to do all the different things they did to put themselves in this position. And it's one thing to, put yourself in the position, but to perform the way they did. Now, look, it wasn't easy. They had to beat New Rochelle with a late field goal. They had a rally against NFA in the semi. So it was a 41-point, performance yesterday, but they needed them because Lancaster was a legitimate team and, really a great program win, 26-0, 2 years in a row. Pretty special stuff.
Big game. So you go to Troy and how well they played, and then Cambridge comes back and defeats Maple Grove 26-14. They go back-to-back, and a game that last year was so close and was even closer than the 26-14. How were you impressed that not only that they won, but then they went back-to-back as well as Troy?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you look at Cambridge and that program, and I'll be writing a little bit more about it tomorrow in the paper for Tuesday's paper, talking about those two programs. And Cambridge is again, almost at the same time that Troy took off. 1992 was their first sectional championship. They had never done anything in football. And Doug Luke's been the head coach for 20 years, and he knew it was going to be easy because they lost a lot of key components from last year. They still had a lot of their top seniors back, but they had to replace some real important players. And they knew Maple Grove was gunning for them. Maple Grove had, had been waiting basically the entire year for the shot to get back at Cambridge, and felt like they let an opportunity get away from them last year. And Cambridge, performed again. A lot of seniors stepped up in the big spots, and Colton Dean didn't play most of the year. Running back played at tight end. Guy played pretty much every position, over 5 years at that school, and able to do what he did. And their senior leaders really stepped forward and really made a statement. To win back-to-back in anything is incredible. For these guys to do what they did, pretty special stuff.
No doubt it was a big game, and then I just want to throw this out. Congrats to Holy Trinity. I mean, what a season. They come up a bit short. I saw the end of that game when they picked off a pass, then they throw a deep touchdown pass. Next thing you know, it's a 3-point game, and then they try the onside kick, don't get it, come up short. I know they were dejected, but once John Barber and those players look back at what they did this year, a remarkable season in their own right.
No question, Roger. I mean, it was a compelling story. I mean, look, 2 state championship, wins for Section 2, 5 in 2 years, certainly great. Sometimes, you get there, you don't win. It doesn't take away from what a special story that was. See where this program was a few years ago. It's a combined entity. It wasn't the most ideal situation because you're talking about when they basically put the 3 of them together, which was Spa Catholic. Spa Catholic, had come back a few years earlier, hadn't had football for, almost 2 decades. Catholic High hasn't had much success in football. Bishop Gibbons hasn't had much success in combined. Those programs, had 1 win between them in playoffs. Now, Spa Catholic drops out of the equation, and John Barber basically trying to merge, 2 programs that really, struggling for numbers, struggling for any, solvency as a varsity program, puts the 2 of them together. Not the easiest situation. You got kids from Troy coming to Schenectady, how that all works out. And then they get them to come where they were. 2 years ago, they won 3 games. They were 1-6 of the regular season. They won 2 crossover games. I mean, to think of where they got and get to the carried home, and they had their chances. I mean, and the thing is, you look at their 3 state playoff games. They had a rally in all of them. They did it 2 times successfully. Weren't able to do it the last time, but still, pretty special stuff from them. Great job from their staff and those kids.
Yep, congrats to all of them. Big game. Congrats to you. A phenomenal job on your coverage with the Times Union. And now it's time for high school basketball. Here we go.
Yeah, and it is. And we're actually sitting in a hotel working on some of that stuff and working on column and working on some basketball preview things. And, yeah, it's hard to believe. Already some tournaments getting underway and some pretty interesting performances early from a couple players. Peyton Olson from Middleburg dropped 60 the other day. Pretty special to get off to a start in the season. And I guess the biggest news, we'll probably talk about this more on Friday. A lot of kids that still at high school eligibility are no longer playing high school basketball. It seems to be the trend the last few years. A couple guys and girls leaving Section 2 to go play in prep school. So people who thought were coming back this year are not going to be playing Section 2 basketball, this season. So
I did hear about that this morning from my lead scout Bob Pisano for our new Shell 13 All-Star basketball team, and it's something that we can further that topic and that storyline on your segment on Friday at 11:15. But Big Game, thanks for a few minutes, and we'll talk to you on Friday.
Sounds good, Roger. I'll talk to you then.